Alrighty, this is the second story by the user that wrote the other jailhouse one. I didn't mention his name. It's the Coyote Kid on Reddit. All right, so this is at the county jail again. One night, it was around 3:30 a.m. to 4 a.m. I was called to come to a cell block to relieve the officer for a short time. He had a phone call in the office or something. When I got to the cell block, he says thanks, and he should be back before it's time to do a check, and leaves. So all the cells in this unit faced the desk and a small window so the inmates could look out. I sit at the desk and twiddle my thumbs for a few minutes when I heard a tapping sound coming from one of the cells. I look around to see where the tapping was coming from, and I hear it again, and then I hear a voice say, 17 house. I look over at cell 17 on the corner. I see an inmate standing in the window, tapping on his wrist, asking what time it is. I held up the number of fingers, and he nodded before stepping back into the dark. A few more minutes went by, and the officer still had not come back. I looked at his log, and I realized he was due for a check. I stood up and began going around the cell block, looking through the cell door windows to make sure all the inmates were safe and nothing was out of the ordinary. When I got to the cell 17, the one with the inmate who asked me for the time, I shined my light into the cell, and it was empty. Like completely empty. No inmate, no bedding, no personal effects, nothing. I double-checked that it was cell 17, and I finished my check. When I go back to the desk, I pulled up the cell log that showed which inmates were in each cell, and 17 was empty. I sat back at the desk and looked over again to make sure it was cell 17 that asked me and not 18 or 16. Cell 17 was in the corner, and I was 100% that it was that cell. When the officer got back, I told him what happened. He thought that was strange. It had been out of service for about 2 weeks due to having a broken toilet. When I left the cell block, I went to the sergeant's office to ask him to pull the video of the incident, as I know there was a camera that faced cell 17. Video showed me sitting at the desk. You could hear the tapping and the voice saying 17 house, and me holding up my fingers to show the time, but no face was in the window.
Oh, I really don't like the prisons.
Prisons are nothing to mess with. This guy is in like a hot spot, paranormal activity at his job.
Yeah, it seems like it. He's had a couple encounters already, and I like the details in this story. The checking of the cells, just consistent between two stories, which adds a lot of credence to, it seems like it's real. And then, talking about working the night shift, the different, the way the positioning of the cells in that particular second room when he was at that one, and how they were slightly different than other maximum security unit. I just felt like, if this is a fake, this is a very good fake. This is someone who definitely works at the jail. But I think these are actually real, true stories. And if so, they're kind of... He muted himself. I do that just so I know that Jack might say something.
At least you click it. Jack and I just hit the damn microphone. I realize that when I'm editing. Like, Jack is always beating up his mic.
Yeah.
Anyway, it happens all the time, right? In a bunch of different scenarios. So the likelihood of being one individual doing it to him would probably be pretty low. But who knows? It sounds like some pretty elaborate prank. If that was the case.
Right. Yeah. At some point, they would have probably figured that out, I would think.
So this guy probably has a bunch of more stories, I assume.
I believe he does have a couple more.
I'm curious if his coworkers are experiencing some of the same thing,
Well, yeah, they obviously saw the bald-headed man that was, not captured on camera, and
this time something was captured, though.
You're right. Yeah. They heard the voice and everything and the tapping, and he was responding. So it's very clear that he could see what he was looking at and looking in that direction. So,
yeah, that's a good story. I like that one. I just think I wouldn't want to work in that environment. Kudos to people that do it. It can't be easy. I know.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to work that without ghosts. It just sounds like such a hard job and a stressful situation.
Yeah, high stress. Then you had throwing things like that. I can't even imagine what that would do to you. It just sounds insane. I do apologize though, because can you hear my dog barking?
I guess you can probably hear it a little bit now, but I couldn't tell if that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it is. So it kind of ruined the story for me because, this is what the story sounded like to me.
Man, it dang old complicated, you know, man. It's like a dang old Rubik's Cube, man. You like talking about it, blue, red, man, then you get to one side and then you like messed up the other side.
I really like that one. I'm glad that one is for me.
I even love the captions bouncing around. It worked out perfect because that
did
damn
work
dog
out.
bark. It did ruin that half of that story for me. I was trying to get on like my security cameras and be like, "Shut up" to his dog during that story. Oh, can't live with him, can't without him. I need a cat like Luke.
Big old cat.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here?
Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?